Alright, it's time for some redemption. So, I think it might have been one of the first repair videos I ever made for the Jeeps, was to replace the hood release cable. And back then I didn't realize I was actually going to make videos about it, so I didn't really film much. So, I'd have to say that was probably one of my worst videos of all time. So today we're actually going to learn how to replace one of these hood release cables when something snaps or doesn't work. So, for those of you that don't know, this is your hood release cable and where it goes. It's just it's got a rubber coating on it and a little metal line, and all it does is it pulls on this little lever here, which will move this guy back and forth and pop your hood open. That wire comes down here through the firewall and down into here. So if you notice on this one, the handle snapped off. That's pretty common on these things. So we are going to replace it. It's not all that bad. The person that owns the truck, they must have took the wire, the bolts off for that. So that's part one. Those are usually at Torx. So now we just got to fish the rubber grommet through. That's always fun. Let's see what we can do. But here's our replacement part right here. Just got this from Advance. It's a hood release cable. Dorman part 912008. That's all it is. It's a cable. On one end it's got the little bar, and on the other it's got the handle you pull. Let's pop her open and see what's inside. Alright, so here's the new one. You can see this is the part that attaches to the bracket up here. So that's always fun to try and wiggle out. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And the grommet. Now, the direction at this point is important because it tells you which way you got to install it. So we're going to take our thin end, where we have to start in the cab and push it out. So you can see that. So that also means that that's how we're going to take it out. So we need to push that inside the vehicle with a flathead or something. It's going to be fun to try to push that in there. But these little clips should just let go. There you go. Okay, and the fun part, so you gotta push this forward, alright? Like so. A little bit of wrestling here. Ow, fuck. Okay, so, sorry I can't hold you straight here. Hopefully at least you can see what I'm doing. So the wire has to go forward like this. Do that little crack. And then you just wiggle the barrel forward and out. Ta-da! Easy peasy. Alright, so now we just come down here and push that grommet through. We're going to take ourselves a trusty flathead screwdriver, like so. And all we do is push. And you want to try to break the seal and get it to go through. Might take a little bit of persuasion. I might need two hands and two screwdrivers, but you get the idea. All you got to do is get that tiny little lip in the vehicle, and then you're golden. There she goes. Ta-da! Alright, now we can just pull that through the inside. You know that thing's gonna get stuck on everything. Okay, right, and you pull. Oh, lovely. There's a nice little rubber thing going on there. A little foam. Okay, that's through. Hey. Get out of here, junk. Then you take your new one and you fish it back through the way that you took it out. So we're going to take a little barrel doo-dicker, and if you don't feel like pulling this panel out, which you can pretty easily, there's usually a bolt in here maybe. Hello? Nope, no bolt there. You take this screw out, and you might have to take this screw out just to get the leverage, but you pull this back and then pull it forward to pop it out, but we're just going to work around it. So we're going to slide this through the hole. And now the fun part is trying to get that to go through the hole up there. That's going to take a little bit of fun. And 2 hands. Okay, so pull this latch open to pull that little barrel in. So that way, instead of having to fight with the barrel and the wire, all you got to do is fight with the wire. So we got the wire through that end. Make sure that doesn't get wrapped up on anything. And then just pull this. And we go. You might have to guide that piece of rubber. Have to see what happens. While you're on the inside, try and push the rubber grommet up to the front so you can grab it. Either push it through from the inside with a screwdriver, or maybe try to grab it with some pliers or something. It's a little tight in here, but you get the idea. You want to grab it and then pull it forward until that lip comes forward. A little bit of WD-40 and she's dandy. All I had to do is sit there and grab on her a little bit and she just popped right in. Cool. Alright, now you'll take these and snap them in, but first, before we do that, let's get our barrel in there. So you remember how this goes back together? Might be a two-handed job here. Doesn't want to stay with me. But you gotta squeeze the barrel through that hole, okay? Then slide the wire through. I don't know if you saw that. The barrel should go in a little farther. I might need a flathead to do that, because you gotta keep it. Oh, there she goes. Okay. Now you can rotate that down, move the barrel in, and ta-da! She's done. Okay, come up here. Snap that into place. Pull it through a little bit. Snap that into place. Alright, cool. Now, we could call this a job well done, but there's one more thing we got to do, is grease this latch mechanism up. There's a reason that thing snapped. Because the problem is these things all rust up and they get all disgusting and they don't move. So you want to make sure this thing can move back and forth freely. Because once you lube it up, you can pop the hood with like a finger or two. It's great, and it just pops right open. But that bracket has to be lubed up and cleaned. So you can spray a little WD-40 on there to get rid of the old grease and rust and all that stuff. But now, I can notice, whoops, it starts to move again. So it's actually in the closed position. So it should retract like that when everything's working properly. Should move real nice. So that means that now that return spring's actually doing what it's supposed to do. Cool. Alright, we'll spray it down, give it a little lube, and we're golden. Alright, cool. I actually found the bolts sitting in the center console. They are a T30 Torx. So you got these two here, and you got that one back there, which I still got to tighten up. I'm just having a problem getting this stupid cover on there. I wonder if I should have did the cover and then tighten it, but I don't know how to. There we go. Okay. Beautiful. Now, hopefully I can get that to slide under. Bunch of crap. Alright. So after you're done wrestling with all this stupid plastic crap, there she goes. Nice and pretty, eh? And it actually actuates, and all that's good to go. Awesome. Okay, so there you have it. That's how you install yourself a hood release cable. And this time I actually showed you how to do it. You're welcome. If you can find any kind of like dry lubricant or something, like some kind of wax or lithium or something to put on here, that'll keep that moving freely, nice. You'll be good to go. As long as it doesn't rust and doesn't get all caught up, should be great. Beautiful. There you go. Okay, final step. If you want to prevent yourself from having a bad time, say your rubber doesn't quite fit on there tight and it can just fall right out, take this little bracket right here and bend it in until it's real close to touching the hood. That way it keeps it from falling out. Because if this rubber thing falls out, you can't open your hood. The hood release cable won't do anything. Tell me how I figured that out. Luckily, since this side was shot and didn't close, I could lift it up enough to get something hooked in there and pull it on the metal so I could actually get this thing open again. But yeah, make sure that this whole assembly doesn't fall out, because if it does, you're gonna have a bad time. If you do have to take that out, you're gonna have to remove the whole headlight assembly. And there's 2 bolts that hold this whole thing in. There's 2 bolts that hold this thing in. You're gonna have a Torx, I think here, but it's gonna be underneath, and you're gonna have one down there, which goes that way. You gotta take this whole thing out, and then you can get to the bolts, and this whole thing will actually come up with the hood, so then you can get inside. But yeah, it's not something you want to have to do. So just make sure that stays in there good, and then you're good to go. Okay, so I'm trying to battle this latch over here, and it seems to be stuck closed or something. I can't get it to undo. If you look on this side, we have this little thing here, and if we push this down like the hood would, you see this thing come up, and it clicks into place. Now when we pull back on this pin, back here, that the rod actuates on, if we pull back on that, that pops forward again. So that's what happens when you open the hood release cable. That's what pops out, is that thing. Well, when we come over here, there's a thing I can push, but it doesn't quite look like it's supposed to be where it is. I'm pretty sure that's the hole, so this should have to pop, but when we pull back on this, it pulls it in farther for some reason. So I'm going to take this little T30 out and see if we can find anything. Okay, so I don't know if this thing has a spring mechanism in it anymore, but we're getting somewhere. So, basically this was jammed like this, but even farther. So I took a screwdriver and put it in there and put some pressure on it. And then I took another screwdriver and pried this part down until the other part could swing around. So you got 2 pieces here. The first part, which is this little latch mechanism, this little guy moves around. And then the other part, which is this big guy here. And this big thing moves all around and does that business. Okay? So it's a simple little system that just locks in there. So this is the open position. When the hood comes down, that little pin goes in there and goes past, and you see how that drops? So now once that drops, like that, now the hood doesn't open. The hood will only release if this gets pulled. And then it opens right up. Now, I think there's supposed to be some kind of spring mechanism on here. I'm not 100% sure. But at least it's unjammed now, so it might function again. I don't know. We're going to put it back on and see what happens. Alright, I think I'm starting to see part of our problem here. Alright, so I don't know if you can see this very well, but there's a little spring hook on there, and that's what keeps tension on there. So when we flick this, oops. There's a little spring action on there. You can just see the very tip of it. Well, you could. But yeah, that's what keeps spring tension on this, so it stays closed. Interesting. So there should be some kind of spring somewhere on here. Probably right there. And probably went to over here. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. There's no spring. Okay, so now we can get a good feel for how this mechanism works. So if you notice right now, it's in the open position. So we're going to put tension on this guy, pulling this way, because this is the way that the rod's going to be pulling it. Because when you unlock the hood, it goes that way. So if we put a little tension on here, we'll go like this. See how things swing down. And now it's locked in there. I don't know if you can see that, but with tension on here, now it doesn't come off. It's locked. But when we push on this, it unlocks. So that's the problem. There's no return spring on here, so there's a chance that this could get jammed up again. but it looks like it can't get stuck when closed. So this big spring here is what puts tension on this to pull up. So we should be okay, as long as no one tries to jam the hood shut when it's not working properly. We'll put it back in and see what happens. So if you need to see how this comes out, you gotta push it, you kind of just pivot it like that, and she'll come right out. Make sure that the pin's in there, like that. So the rod should come out of the back, like that. So we just pivot it in there, and then we'll bolt that back down. Make sure it's in the unlock position. We should be good. So quick test, we got both of these in the closed position. So we're gonna pull the, so if we pull on this, like we would be releasing the hood. Okay. So the problem is we need tension on that though. So hopefully this spring here gives us the tension we need to get the hood open. We should be alright. Okay, well fuck that. I tried to close it and it instantly went right back the way it was. Got fucking jammed in there, so fuck it. I guess we just need a new one. Something you can't fix unless it's got that return spring on it. Garbage.